All right. Well, I could say welcome to the OpenChain monthly meeting for specifications, education, and other business. And this is the North America Europe call on December the 10th of 2025. And it's late in the afternoon there in the UK, and it's in the middle of the morning here in the US. So we'll take off from here. So we'll go through the usual antitrust policy for the Linux Foundation. And so there's the policy as everyone has looked at it many times in the past, and it hasn't changed. And we just want to make sure that we're conducting the meeting in accordance with the Linux Foundation's antitrust policy. So if you're a member of the Linux Foundation, feel free to contact Andrew Upgrove, and otherwise you can contact your own legal counsel if you're not a member. So today we're going to talk a little bit about OpenChain project news. Then we'll go into the specification work group and talk about the next steps in developing our ISO standards. And then Martin will pick up the education work group and continue on with the training material. So on to project news. I guess the biggest news item for this month is that Shane is moving on to other things as part of a planned management rotation within the Linux Foundation, which was discussed at the last board meeting here. I think it was earlier this week. And we're sincerely going to miss him and his engaging personality and knowledge of the Linux Foundation OpenChain projects work to date. And he's been largely instrumental in getting this work all up and moving and in the correct direction. So we just hope that we're going to be able to continue along and improve the portfolio of products. So there's a tiny URL in here if you want to read more details about Shane's rotation. And there's the little code you can use with your telephone if you'd like to just link to it directly there.
Yeah, and I guess from my point of view, I'd like to echo the same thing, basically. He's been very instrumental in getting things going, getting people moving, getting people interested, and we hope we can continue on without him.
Yeah, it'll be tough as we, or at least as I stumble through some of the things that he has kind of taken charge of and get the right details up there. But I think together and with the help of the ambassadors, if there are any ambassadors on the call yet, we'll be able to make headway. Maybe a little bit different than when Shane was leading it, but change is always good.
Yep, super.
So a little bit about the specification work group. Right now we have two specifications, license compliance and security insurance. And there's the little codes and bit.ly links that lead you to the specification for both of those in GitHub. So what we really want to talk about is what are we going to do for further development of these specifications? We've got one specification that's going to be reaching its 5-year point. Hard to believe, but that it's been that long that we've been working at this, but true. And that means that we're going to need to go back through it and start making changes to bring it up to date wherever that's needed. So we need to, as we talked about in the last meeting, we need to work to find commonalities in the requirements across the globe and make sure that we remain open-minded with regional tailoring as long as the regional tailoring doesn't cause the software that's being developed in those regions from causing the recipients of that software to have to go out and modify the software so that they won't be in violation and unable to remain compliant with these specifications. So the question comes up as to what types of edits or additions may we need to make. Well, we need to really start looking at this uh, and critically thinking about it. We had launched a specification survey coming out of the board meeting at the beginning of this year. It went out to a bunch of the member companies who were, I thought, were using the specifications and were signed up under them. But that doesn't really appear to be the case, judging from the outcomes of the recent survey. Like it said, there was only 7 responses. Wide geographic coverage, okay, but most of the responders were not yet adopters. And so that is problematic because how can you answer the survey questions if you haven't yet adopted the specifications? So I was looking at the way that this was charted, and it seems to me it's green would imply good and red would imply bad, but that's actually um, opposite from the questions in some cases, because the question is, has your organization adopted ISO 5320 in this case, or 18974? And the answer yes is green, and the answer no is red. So that was an appropriate use of the red coloring. But on some of these other charts that come on this page, there's places where if you answer the question and you say yes for green, it's actually should have been red because they didn't actually find shortfalls in the thing. And if they did find shortfalls and their answer was yes, that in my mind should have been red from an academic perspective. I would have not put this in a dissertation or accepted it in that manner. But we haven't, because there was no real data in these things that gives us any pointers. I don't think they're going to be very useful to us in other than in a general sense, saying adopters see problems with the specs. But if they don't say what they are, it makes it hard to use. So that's all I really had to say today. I think we need to go back and sit down with the ambassadors and the participants and the work groups and start ferreting out information, if we can, quickly about where the disparities happen to lie, and then we'll have something to attack and work on. Do you agree, Martin?
Yes. Yep.
All right. I will turn the education work group discussion over to yourself.
Okay, thank you. And I'll note that it's still the two of us, since you probably wouldn't have been able to see. You're going to continue driving for the time being?
I can.
Okay. Okay, let's go to the next slide then, please. Because I'll have to do something here anyway. Okay, so this is the key one, training material and the LFC 193 course.
If you think it would be easier for you to drive, just go ahead and I'll unshare this.
I'll grab it in a minute anyway, I think. Thank
Okay.
You. Yeah, assuming I can. So yeah, the course is a candidate version on GitHub in this first link, but I'll actually talk about a couple of very minor changes or additions to it in a second, and see how we go with that. I say at the moment, the Linux Foundation training people are ready and expecting to get the update to them so that they can start from January. So they've got someone, or will have someone allocated to do the work. So roughly between January and March, I think is their plan, so that a new version would be launched around March kind of time with some comms around that. So that's kind of what we're heading for. Um, and that if we get this kind of over the line this week or very soon, then I need to be able to create a like a diff document for them to pass to them. So there's a bit of work to be done to take what changes we've agreed to be in a format that they're willing to accept, which is why I want to get it across the line, at least as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
Okay, so let me go. I'm actually okay, right, Chris. So you will have to stop sharing if you don't mind, and then I'll take over.
All right.
It doesn't allow me to assert my authority over you. You're still sharing your desktop at the moment.
Okay, let's see. How did I do that? Hmm. Okay, let's see. Where is it? Share, share, share. Can I unshare?
I guess I fill the time by saying this is a person running to the open source horizon or something.
Yeah. I'll just bag out of this thing and come back in. All right.
Yep, okay.
So,
Right, okay, let me share. I think this one. Okay. And if I go to this one, that will do it. Then I will wait for Chris to rejoin. Let me start. I guess firstly, I can do this. Chris, you're back. I'll put into the chat first this page. So this is the current candidate version, latest one in Markdown. I switch to the open issues page. So actually I'd missed this one here, the second one. So I'll talk about that in a minute. But this is the first one here, the Gen AI one is one that I mentioned in the agenda. So I'll open up that. So this is a comment from Yari, and basically is saying, obviously there's lots of stuff going on with Gen AI, and should we be saying something about it or not, and what should we say? And I think we've got like a couple of options here. One is either we completely ignore it and continue to say nothing, but because the legal situation, in my understanding, is still very unclear, we have to be careful what we do say if we do say something. So we've got some comments by Shane. then I suggest that if Shane could suggest some text, and he came up with this, basically saying, there are open discussions about copyright of code. These will be informed by multiple legal jurisdictions, and to the best of our knowledge, these are still underway. Due to a lack of clear industry consensus and guidance, it's premature for commentary in education material produced by the OpenChain project. So the proposal is basically to add this text somewhere in the beginning or introduction, just so that it's not like we've completely ignored it. And it also gives us a bit of a marker point for the future to remember when we look at this again that perhaps this needs to be added and updated. So yeah, that's my proposal, is to add something like this in the course introduction as a note, something like that. So Chris, I think it's only you still on here. Do you have any comment on this particular point? If you do,
There
you're
we go.
muted. Oh, there we go. Yes, cool.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that that's a perfectly good approach to this right at the moment, because anything else that we would do to add commentary in there would suggest legal guidance, and we don't do that.
Yeah, and it's likely to be wrong at some point or other in
Yes,
some part
sir.
of the world.
Yep, it is.
Cool, great. I'll do something with that. So yeah, this is the other one that's still open. It's not a big one. So in a lot of places we talk about uh, like doesn't require a technical background when we're talking about some of the technical stuff. In this particular chapter, it opens up a chapter does not require a legal background. While it discusses some concepts of law, it does this in a non-technical way. And Yari's comment is that should this, it's talking about legal and then in a non-technical way, would it be better to say a non-legal way? Um,
What did
Personally,
Mary what did Mary say about that?
this is the 193 course, so she didn't provide comments on that, or at least not
Oh,
not that I'm aware of.
she would. I think that, in my personal opinion, from having worked with Mary for a long time, I would say that the further we stick away from giving any kind of legal and even trying to summarize something in a non-legal way, uh, I think the better off we'd be. So I think that it needs to just be about the technical content at the present time.
Yeah, I think this is partly like an English thing though as well, isn't it? It's like for me, it doesn't, when it says non-technical way here, it's not meaning to me that it's electronics and software engineering. I read this to be anyway technically about the law. So I sort of don't mind either way, which is why good to have a different opinion really. Um, but yeah, I'm also open for just changing it to a non-legal way.
So I think that the without reading the chapter, I can't really comment on it on what the content is, but I would say that it would best read if it just said that this chapter does not require a technical background, as in scientific.
Well,
Uh,
this one is talking about copyright and things like that, patents and things like that. So there's no technical. It's not talking about anything engineering or anything in this particular way, really, apart from that software is counted as copyright.
okay. Well, I think as long as you're not giving any opinions in there and you're just saying that this is the generally accepted explanation of what a copyright means, or I don't know. That one I would be a little uh, hesitant to approve any discussion about the legal descriptions of what it means if it's telling anybody to do anything
Yeah, no,
without having one of the the Linux Foundation Intellectual
Mhm,
Property Council take a look at it.
mhm. Okay.
And if he's looked at it, then I'm fine with it.
Okay. Sure what to do about that. I might propose something because maybe if I say it doesn't require answers in a non-technical way and is not legal advice, maybe the way to put it,
Mm-hmm.
just to be clearer then. Okay. And I think that is the uh, full which are open on this. So that's great. So I know that the next slide is talking about the LFC 194 course, but since I'm sharing this at the moment, I will just go on to that and say, so this is where that is at the moment. Let me put that into the chat. So at the moment on the LFC 194 course, we basically just have the Word document and say this was the Word document that was being worked upon and given to the Linux Foundation training people, and includes, if I download it, a bunch of comments and questions and suggestions from Mary that were never implemented. So this is basically our starting point. So let me stop sharing that and then go back to, actually I've got it open. I can find open one. Okay. I can find, okay. I didn't have the Word document open, that's why I can't find it. And it should appear here somewhere now. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, let's just share the screen in that case. Okay, so this is what it is. It's a Word document, and if I go down a bit, so we have some comments here. Don't think this is barely accurate, and I think this is correct. We didn't mention anything in that course content. We just looked at about SBOM, just mentioned that you know mentioned it, but certainly didn't talk in anything detail. So there's quite a few things in here which we'll need to go through. So there's quite a bit of work done just to kind of look at and go through these comments really. So I'm now proposing that we do that next year. So I'm going to stop sharing that and instead see if I can share this. Well, I guess I'm sharing presenter view at the moment, aren't I?
You're sharing the slide number 12.
In presenter view or normal view?
Well, it's slightly small, but
Okay, but
it looks like it's in the non-presenter view.
okay. Oh, good. Good. It's remembered from last time then. So I need to go to the next page. Okay, so we should be looking at the 194 course one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Yeah, so at the moment, in terms of what I communicate to Linux Foundation training people, is that we'd be looking to give them an updated version of this course basically at the end of Q1. So they'll work on the 193 one first, launch that and do comms or whatever, and then work on this one with a goal of releasing it, a couple of months afterwards. So we need to start doing some work on it. and I guess I'm proposing that we start by reviewing the existing comments and proposed changes, since we have some. Seems a good place to start. So probably best, since that's in a Word document, to probably fix it in the Word document first, and then when they're reasonably well addressed, change that to a Markdown one. Actually, I should say that I would probably plan to remove the Word document version of the 193 course as well, because currently they're not the same anyway. So the Markdown version is the master one.
Okay, and where do you keep the Markdown version?
So the Markdown version is in GitHub. So we're actually working on the course content there.
Okay, is there a way that I can figure out which one it is so I can open it?
For the 193 or the 194 course?
Either one.
Yeah, so the 194 course is, there's no Markdown at the moment. There's just the Word document.
Okay.
So in the 193 course, there is a Word document and a Markdown version, but the Markdown file is the only one that's had all of these recent changes, and the README that's in that directory makes that quite clear. So what I'm
Okay.
proposing, and from the Markdown, it should be possible to create a Word version of it. That's fairly straightforward to do for people. So I don't see there's any particular benefit in me trying to maintain basically two versions of the same thing. Which is
Yeah,
why I
I agree.
suggest, yeah. I'm anyway. I haven't touched the Word document for like 4 months, so I plan just to move that to being either delete it or move it to the legacy uh, folder.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's good. In that case, yeah. So I think we'll take that off, take that from January from any updates to 194. Without Mary on the call, it would seem a bit strange to go through her comments and wordsmith anyway. So I will move on to AOB, and this is what the current proposal is from going from January. Um, this call stays the same, and separate Asia calls for education and for the spec. Making
Yeah,
sure.
and I
Mm,
will try to do a Shane and be awake at that time occasionally to participate with your Europe Asia call because I do
mhm,
think that we need to maintain some synchronization between the education call and the specification call
mhm,
because they're directly linked in that the
mm,
education material comes from the general sense of the specification, if I understand it correct.
mhm,
And so we just need to make sure that the interpretation of the people who are writing the education sections are properly interpreting the specification
mhm. Yeah, that
because
makes.
it may require changes to the specification because it's misleading or whatever.
Mhm.
But it's something we can discuss as a group.
Yeah, I think we just need to like run with it to begin with and see how it goes. I
Mm-hmm.
think from a practical viewpoint at the moment on the 194 course, at the moment all of the comments are Mary, and so yeah, if you add your comments into a Word document and send it to me
Oh,
or
I
round,
did.
then okay, then that will anyway be probably mostly talking in terms of live edits on the American or North America, Europe call anyway, is my guess. Um, most of the people on the Asia call are typically listening rather than contributing so much, but that of course could change. So I think we need to just see how it goes and adjust accordingly. I certainly, yeah, struggle, find it a bit strange, for example, that, yeah, you're doing one set of things with one team and then, yeah, moving on and doing it with a different bit, and then kind of then having to tell the original people what may have changed. It can work a bit weird, I think.
Yeah, and I think that if we start having inconsistencies between the two, between the specifications and the training, it's going to lead to dissatisfaction of the out there
Mm,
in the community amongst the companies who've adopted it. Because
hmm
they'll go, okay, the specification says this, but the education tells us to do this, or vice versa. And once they start getting concerns about the consistency in the documentation, I think it'll be negative.
Mm. Yeah, no, I agree. I was even more concerned from specifically like just within the same group of I don't know, like on the North American call deciding X, and then on the Asia call deciding to change it to Y, and then going back to the North America call of wanting to change it back to X. Well, it's it could be a bit of a nightmare rather than having everybody in, discussing and all interest parties discussing on a point. Anyway, we'll just have to see how it goes because we can't really do anything better than that at the moment. Okay.
Let me, okay, I'm going to go ahead and send this to you as a Word document, and then you can see my comments in there nested in with Mary's. I made
hmm
it through a good portion of the document, but I hadn't finished it yet.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. What I'll probably try and do is put it onto the GitHub as a new version of the document onto there to make
Yeah,
it available to everybody. And that make if I can do that, um, I'm not sure, uh, but I will try. I
okay.
think because Shane was doing a lot of the commits, so I'm not sure who will have taken that responsibility, but we'll work through that anyway. Oh well. In that case, thanks, Chris. I think we've had an excellent discussion, an excellent meeting, the best meeting so far of the two of us.
Yeah, I think we got some things accomplished or agreed to anyway.
Yep, yep, that's great. In which case, yeah, obviously this is the last one of the year, so I'll wish everyone um, who was on the call or watching the catch up before Christmas a New Year have a fantastic festive period, and we will see you in 2026.
I agree and echo your thoughts. Happy holidays to you all. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Cool. Great. And with that, I will close the meeting and say just personally to you, Chris, thanks a lot. Thanks for the year and look forward to the next one.
So do I. Thanks, Martin.
See ya.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas.
You too. Bye.
Bye bye.